Well, let's go ahead and get started with today's
Mm.
session. So, Rachel, if you want to go ahead and kick us off, we'll move accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Contrell. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and good morning. Welcome to Poseidon Education and Awareness Campaign, session number 5, STEM and OST Connecting to Pennsylvania STEM Ecosystems. My name is Rachel Brenneman. I am the specialist for the Poseidon and 21st Century programs here at the Center for Schools and Communities, and I'll be your moderator for this session. So, welcome.
Thank you, Rachel, and good morning and welcome everyone again to session number 5 of the After School Network's Education and Awareness Campaign. For those that have been joining us consistently over the past several months, we've been really trying to set the foundation of how to reach out to your local legislators, schedule those meetings. And for the next half of our campaign, we really want to try to give you some of those talking points in regards to the meat of what's happening in out of school time. So one thing that we are pushing for the quality piece for out of school time is the STEM education. So I got a little ahead of myself and already dropped in the chat. I'd ask you all to save the date, February 5th of 2026. Yes, 2026 on the horizon. Same time, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We have a presenter that is going to review the career connected learning framework that is specifically designed for the out of school time space. You'll find out a little bit more about that. If you click the link there, it'll actually take you to that framework so you can begin getting a bit familiar and also sharing with your staff. I've also dropped in the chat along with that link to the framework and save the date is the STEM Next 2025 end of year report. You'll notice a couple points there that I have in the chat as well about the number of educators touched with the STEM Next, as well as the number of students exposed and the programs supporting. So it takes some time. Please look at that. I really want to try to drill down and move strategically with STEM education in the after school and summer programs. There's a lot of information that can be a bit challenging, I want to say, sometimes to understand. And I'm here to kind of say and want to say that that career connected framework that I'm really pushing you all to begin to familiarize yourself. This will hopefully ease some of the anxiety that you may be feeling and that you need to be a scientist or an expert to guide students in this space. That's the furthest from the truth in STEM education and out of school time. It's a great opportunity in regards to learning along with your students. So if staff aren't that comfortable, familiarizing them with that framework should give some comfortability and help build out, I want to say, a pipeline for our young people to stay engaged in career awareness and other possibilities in their journey. All right, enough said on my end. Got some great presenters today. We are fortunate to have the director of the Pennsylvania statewide STEM ecosystem, Alexandra, with us to do a presentation on just that, the STEM ecosystems around the state. So outside of this framework, there are other resources that can help you implement this framework, so to speak, or add to this framework. And Lexi's going to talk all about that. After that presentation about the STEM ecosystems, we have Click to Science with us, Ann and Kathleen today. They are holding down the 4-H in the state of Nebraska with a STEM education. We're going to give you a couple of tips on how to expand or capitalize on the young people that are beginning to ask questions. And I just want to say, when young people are asking questions, that is STEM. There's where we can, that's our in, that's our avenue to advance and push them towards the things that they like. So enough said there. I'm going to turn it right over to you, Lexi, for our first half of our presentation.
Thank you, Contrell. Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Just a quick sound check. Awesome. I'm getting some reactions in the chat. So as Contrell mentioned earlier, I am the director of PSSE, the Pennsylvania Statewide STEM Ecosystem. And I'm here to talk to you kind of about what the ecosystem movement is in Pennsylvania and kind of the strides that we've taken to be able to connect all of our out-of-school providers with resources across the state when it comes to STEM. So anybody who's working in STEM, educating in STEM, trying to create and move our young people forward is going to be welcome in our organization. So just an idea of kind of where we are and what we do. So PSSE stands for the Pennsylvania Statewide STEM Ecosystem. And our vision is that all Pennsylvanians will have access to quality STEM education and career pathways to become tomorrow's leaders, influencers, and problem solvers. And if I'm looking at other after school or out of school organizations, it's a very similar when it comes to STEM, right? And so this might kind of be up your alley when you're talking about delivering STEM services to kids in out of school spaces. In my day job, one of the things that I do in my day job is to be the director of PSSE. It's a 2-year stint. I got unanimously elected 2 years ago, so I'm coming at the end of my term, and it's been a wonderful time. But also, I lead the NEPA STEM ecosystem, which is Susquehanna, Lackawanna, Wayne, Wyoming, and Pike counties. And so I have a regional STEM ecosystem and a leadership team there that I can speak about if we have time. But there are lots of regional STEM ecosystems across PA. And one of our great partners that's across all of those regional STEM ecosystems are people that work and provide services to out of school time to kids, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that connection point that you all can take advantage of. So here's our mission. Our hope as PSSE is to be a convener of conveners. So to unite the regional STEM ecosystems that are bringing folks together from cross sectors together to try to move STEM learning forward, to move workforce readiness forward, to create the state that we envision our young people to deserve, right? To inherit across the state of Pennsylvania. And so we're really dialed into how we can help those regional STEM ecosystems achieve their regional goals for this, but also what is the vision kind of the state in terms of STEM and STEM education? Well, through PSSE, PDE and other state state departments are kind of using part of what we do, like their partners. PDE is a partner of ours, but we are facilitating those cross-sector convenings so folks talk to each other. Employers and employee trainers are speaking to school districts and students and kids and kind of making those connections. Out of school time is connecting with in school time, is connecting with nonprofits, and all of those folks are kind of talking to one another. And we're talking about how can we make the STEM ecosystem in Pennsylvania better? What can we move? What can we advocate for? What do we have in terms of policy that we want to advance? What kind of community work, communities of practice, what do we want to steward forward, right? And so that's kind of what our mission is all about. That's what we work towards. So for those of you that haven't had a chance to see this, this is kind of the landscape of Pennsylvania when it comes to regional STEM ecosystems. Some of you might recognize some of the logos and some of the names of the regional STEM ecosystems in your area. Some of you might already be affiliated or involved or a member of your regional STEM ecosystem. And some of you might be lucky enough to live across boundaries and be involved with several STEM ecosystems, right? So if you take a look at the map, NEPA is up on the right. So it's the northeast corner. That's the one that I am in the director of. And also right now I have a 2-year stint with the director of PSSE. But there's also STEM ecosystems across the entire state. And so all of the geography of PA has at least one STEM ecosystem functioning in that county. And so if you go across counties or if you have a different service area, obviously the out of school time map looks a little bit different, right? If we're talking about the regions of out of school time. So you might notice that there's several STEM ecosystems that you might want to get involved with or might want to connect to. So that's kind of what the map looks like. And so there's 14. You'll also notice that some counties have more than one ecosystem in them. And in some cases that's by design, but in some cases that's because of community desire, right? And so we have kind of some of that going on as well. So one of the things that we realized several years ago, this was pre-pandemic, was that there was amazing work happening across the state regionally when it came to STEM education, workforce development, workforce partnerships, all of those kinds of things were happening all across the state. But in some cases, they were happening in pockets of innovation. And so if we were thinking about the idea of how we might scale those promising practices, how we might share what's happening in different areas of PA, of amazing things that are happening. How do those regional STEM ecosystems get the word out about the amazing things that they're doing? But then also, if a regional STEM ecosystem wants to do something maybe bigger, or they're working with an organization that crosses ecosystem borders, perhaps, or maybe they see a partnership with another STEM ecosystem as being beneficial to what they're trying to achieve in their region and their communities, how there was no mechanism before PSSE incorporated to be able to do that, right? It was all about maybe personal connections before that, right? I have Control's number. I'm just going to call him and ask him if he wants to work with me, right? And so we had some of that going on, but there was a limited amount of that, right? Because not everyone knew everyone, and as you could probably guess, the idea of leading a regional STEM ecosystem typically takes a village, but also it's usually a job that rolls from one leader to the next, because we like to be democratic and we like to have representation of all of our community members. And so that's usually, I might call someone and that person might not be in charge of that regional ecosystem anymore, right? And so how do we come up with a mechanism that allows that sustainability of communication, partnership, and then sharing those amazing things that are happening and collaborating and supporting one another across the state? And so one of the things that we did was we created something called PSSE. And so PSSE is that collaboration of all those 14 STEM ecosystems working together to elevate promising practices, spread the word, develop partnerships with folks, and then also to kind of expand the reach of STEM ecosystems and advocate for future environments, right, that we want to have happen in Pennsylvania. So PSSE has their own website. It's pastemecosystem.org. You're welcome to visit. There's a lot of great resources there, including ways that you can connect and partner with your regional STEM ecosystem. And so we needed a place where all the STEM ecosystems could come together, but also so that folks could travel to one website to be able to get to those STEM ecosystem partners. And so if you're looking to reach out to an ecosystem maybe you haven't worked with yet, or you're looking to reestablish or reconnect with that ecosystem, this is a great spot to be able to get that information. So I'm going to show it to you really quick. This is our website. We have information about what we're all about. We also have a news blog, and we have an events page. So this is a statewide events page where folks that are doing events or programs that have a statewide focus that are across several ecosystems, they can actually add those events to our calendar. And so we have some calendar events that are here. We have a statewide Minecraft EDU build challenge that's currently happening, and we'll finish at the end of December, right? And so that we're hoping to have every year. And that would be an amazing thing to get the out of school kids in your programs to be involved in. This is a great challenge for them to do. It's directly connected to different workforce readiness and different economies in Pennsylvania, including agriculture. I believe the challenge this year has to do with agriculture. So that's pretty awesome. I think agriculture is our second biggest economy in terms of employment in Pennsylvania, which is great. Great to get kids connected to that. Then there's also the event that's happening today, which is the PCEL Fall Esports Finals, which is junior high and high school. And so we're able to kind of help elevate those events that include competitions and students from a statewide lens on our event calendar. And if you're a member of PSSE, which anyone in Pennsylvania is welcome to become a member, then you can actually propose to add events to that calendar. And so if you're looking for a way to kind of really add rocket fuel to your event to get the word out, this is a great spot to have to be published on the calendar. And I'll talk a little bit more about kind of different ways that you can get the word out for your programming as well. Okay, I'm going to go back to my slideshow. We may go back to that website a little bit later when we're talking about other things. So what are our seminal events? Like where, when, how, and what kinds of events do we have that are statewide as PSSA? Because we also put on our own events. So we promote statewide events on our webpage. We promote what you're doing as well in your regions as regional STEM ecosystems. Your regional STEM ecosystems will also promote what you're doing in the region as well. If it's something that's regional, that's for the folks that are in your community, then that's a great space to be connected to your regional STEM ecosystem, so then they can publicize your events for you as well. But also we do events as PSSE, and we don't do a ton because of course those 14 regional STEM ecosystems have a lot of calendar events that they're doing for their own communities. We want them to be able to do their own programming, but what are kind of ways that we get together as a state? So the first way that we get together as a state is our winter ecosystem leadership retreat. And so leaders of all the 14 STEM ecosystems will bring teams, and we do strategic planning for how we can improve the state STEM system, right? Ways in which it can be tweaked. And so our leadership retreat is January 28th and 29th this year. And the leaders from all of those 14 STEM ecosystems will bring teams. And so you might be tapped to be part of that team if you are involved in your regional STEM ecosystem. That could be a thing that you could participate in as an out-of-school provider or in whatever capacity that you're involved in that ecosystem. In June, we have a statewide STEM convening, which is a larger event that involves not just the leadership of those 14 STEM ecosystems, but STEM ecosystem members from all over the state as a whole. And so you may find when you're connected to that regional STEM ecosystem, or if you decide to become a PSSE member, you will be invited to that as well as someone who's working on STEM in PA. And then we have a virtual professional learning series for people who want to know more about what a STEM ecosystem is and how it functions, what that collective impact model looks like, and how it can help communities achieve things that they want to achieve. Our philosophy is we go further if we do things together. And so what does that look like in kind of an organized way? And so that is going to be a virtual professional learning series that is on our calendar that anybody can sign up for and learn more. And we will have lots of folks from all of the different 5 pillars of STEM in Pennsylvania talking about those different industries. Do we have a question in the chat? Oh, yes. Thank you, Anna. Okay. In addition to convening the entire state in different ways and bringing those 14 STEM ecosystems together as a Pennsylvania community, we also have things called work groups. Now, a work group is a group of folks that are working in areas of STEM that get together for a shared purpose across the state. And so you may have work groups that already exist in your regional STEM ecosystem, and you're working on those projects regionally. But if it's something that you feel is applicable to the entire state, then you can develop a work group, or you can join a work group that already exists at PSSE. We currently have 2 active work groups because they spin up and spin out as the need arises. They exist to create whatever project they want to create to solve whatever problem they're working on. And so right now we have an advocacy work group that's working on STEM advocacy and STEM education advocacy. And so that is the group that is actually putting out the virtual learning for STEM ecosystem work and how to advocate for yourself in STEM. And then the second group is our esports work group, and their first meeting is coming up in January. And so you can join that one as well if you're interested in esports, if you're interested in bringing esports to your out of school time program, if you're just curious about esports and what the big hullabaloo is and why this might be something that might be valuable for you and your community and your programming, you can join that work group as well. And I will make sure that Conchal gets all of these details if you want to join any of these work groups or if you want to go to any of those events. We're also working on, sneak preview, possibly an out of school time work group. And Conchal and I have had many conversations about this, so we'll have to keep moving those conversations forward. So stay tuned. So if you're interested in learning more, you can join our group. You'll have access to our monthly newsletter. You'll have access to that events calendar to propose events to go on the calendar. And then, of course, other events as they come. We're talking about the work groups. You can join a work group, that kind of thing. And so if you want to be a part of PSSE, anyone who's working in Pennsylvania who's interested in STEM can join PSSE. And so that's the link. There's also a QR code on this slide that you can click on that will take you through the steps of creating a membership profile on our website. And then that's how we communicate with folks. We have our listserv that we send the newsletter out to has about 2,000 people on it. I know it's probably not as big as Control's newsletter list. I'm not jealous. But also we have access to that other programming as well. And you can, as a member, communicate to other members by just clicking on their name and sending them a message. And so you have access to all of the members that already exist as well. So you can start to make those connections with the folks that are already members of PSSE that have a listing on our website. So you can start that right away. In addition, you can follow us on our socials. We have a Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. And so feel free to follow what we're doing on those socials, and the events will be posted on there as well. We're about to start a campaign for our virtual learning series. And so you'll get information about how to register through that if you follow us online as well. I think that's all of my presentation. I'm curious if anybody has any questions about what. Yes. Anna, I can get that for you.
Yes, and please feel free here during the Q&A to unmute yourself if that's better than to type in the chat. But what a great presentation to lay out the resources that are part of this pipeline. I keep saying pipeline because the STEM education is the way to engage our young people and help support their wants and their journey to not just workforce readiness, but simply maybe identity in some of those cases. So
and I can give you an example. If you're still if you're unfamiliar with STEM ecosystems and maybe the work that we do, which it's totally okay if you are, here, I'll give you an example. There was a program that was in the out of school space that was partially funded by 21st Century several years ago. And the director of that program that was at the local educational organization, or the LEA, had questions for our ecosystem about, we would like to have some guest speakers that work in the local industries in the area. We'd like them to come and speak to the kids in the after school space about the employment options that they have, right? And they wanted to have them talk to the kids about what it is that you do, right? And this particular group wanted to know, could we send them some engineers? And so they came to an ecosystem meeting and said, we need engineers. Can you send us some engineers, please? I said, sure, no problem. So this is a NEPA STEM, right? So it's just one of the 14 regions of PA that I'm showing on the map. This is an interactive map, by the way. You can hover or you can click on the name of your ecosystem, and the ecosystem you're interested in learning more about, and it will send you to their website or their socials so you can connect to the ecosystem using this map. This is under the About page of our STEM ecosystem webpage, which is part of the reason why we did it. We want to connect folks to the folks that are operating in STEM in their region. But anyway, back to my story. Needed engineers, came to an ecosystem meeting. Well, there happened to be one of our industry partners at an ecosystem meeting that heard the request and said, I got a ton of engineers. How many do you need? And where would they have to go? And we actually give them leave time. They're allowed to do 2 volunteer days, completely paid, every year. And so how about we have them spend a volunteer day to come talk to your kids after school? Would that work? The director of that after school program was like, yeah, that works. That's great. When can we schedule this? And so what that turned into and actually started was this trend, this connection, so that now that after school center has now this connection with a local industry partner that employs hundreds of people just up the road, that is now sending folks that are engineers, that are employees of their company, to that after school program every year to talk to the kids about what it means to be an engineer and why engineering is awesome. Some of those folks that are coming, that are employees, are graduates of that school district that helps to connect that out of school time and helps to populate that out of school time with kids, right? And so it's a beautiful circle that we've been able to build in our community, and we just keep building those circles, right? I try to think of we're kind of like the match.com of the STEM world, right? Like you need a thing, we know people, we can get you connected, and then you can work that out, right? So this is what a STEM ecosystem does. We're conveners. We bring people from all different spots together because we're united in the idea of STEM and STEM education. And those kinds of connections, those kinds of meetups are happening all over the state. And we at PSSE are working on identifying what those are and scaling them up so that more of those connections happen. I don't know if that helps clarify for folks that might not be familiar with collective impact model and that kind of thing.
Thank you for sharing that particular example there, Alexandra. And just to go all the way back, because I hovered over where I was at and hit the click, all of that happened, right? I clicked that part of the region or the state that I live in, and it listed the opportunities that are there, and then from there it just took off, right? So I didn't need to be the expert as the out of school time program lead or director. I just need to know where the resources are to get them in front of my students. Thank you for that. It was a great example there.
You're welcome. And as director of PSSE for 2 years, I have thousands of those stories that are happening all across the state. That was just the one that popped into my head. But there are tons of things happening. There are career pathways being created. There are educational programs being built, right, for folks as an employee pathway that didn't exist before, because they've been able to connect with folks and see the need, right? They've been able to talk with folks that are like, these kids need this pathway to gainful employment, and there are employers and educators out there that are like, yes, we can do that. We can build this. This is good for everybody.
All right, I'm just going to give a second or couple seconds for the chat to see if anybody has anything to drop in there. Meanwhile, if I could ask those that are in attendance to hit your reaction button and let's show a little bit of appreciation for the presentation that the statewide STEM ecosystem director was able to bring to us here this morning. While nothing is simple, I don't know if this can get any simpler about how to connect to the resources in my area to connect my young people. Before we go into next presentation, I do want to bring some attention to the information I just dropped in the chat. That is kind of an immediate return on investment for young people getting involved in STEM. So you've heard me talk about the career ladder and the framework to get them there as adults and work ready. Well, there's an opportunity right here across the country for Pennsylvania to step up and say, we have young people that are exploring the STEM fields, they're exploring entrepreneurship and things like that. So what I dropped in here is we have the $1 million challenge, the $1 million challenge. When you click that link, it'll give you the directions. Pretty simple in regards of young people getting in front of a camera and giving a pitch on what they've experienced in their STEM education and out of school time, what they've experienced in their opportunities to be involved in youth entrepreneurship activity or opportunities. But this is going to be pretty big. I'm not going to sell it to everyone on the presentation here, but again, click that link, take a deeper dive, pay attention to the turnaround as far as the deadline for those youth pitches. And we'll end with, there are $1 million in prizes set aside for the young people that participate. So everybody wins $1 million. I said $1 million, right? So I don't think there's going to be $10 Amazon gift cards with $1 million. We're going to probably be talking some technology tools or instruments like XR, VR goggles, laptops, whatever those technologies are to help our young people stay connected. So hope we all take advantage of that as well. All right. No other questions in the chat. I don't see anyone unmuting. Ralph, was you looking for your unmute button? I just want to make sure I don't move too fast. You still ain't find it, Ralph, because you on mute.
You can hear me now.
I can hear you now. Yes, sir.
No, I'm fine. It's very clear and precise.
Awesome. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's move on to our second half of our session here this morning on STEM and out of school time. Again, it's my pleasure to welcome both Kathleen and Ann from the Nebraska's 4-H Connection. Click to Science. You're on.
Well, thanks, Cantrell, and thanks all of you for giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit more with your team about out of school time opportunities to enhance the skills of those who are providing experiences to young people. We actually, in Nebraska, have a long history with Penn State University. We've been working with their team, Claudia Mintzmeyer, who retired and was replaced by Ben Bailey over on campus around the Better Kid Care modules. So the whole concept of the work you've been doing over the years around STEM education, around creative ways to reach new audiences has certainly been paramount in changing the field. So cool to see the ecosystem. And what we're going to talk about fits right into that in the fact that it's an online professional development tool. And to Contral's point, you don't have to be a STEM scientist to be able to help engage young people in STEM. But this really talks about how you can use purposeful questions, how you can get to the foundations of engineering and science to enhance those experiences for young people. So I'm going to throw it to Ann O'Connor, who is our program leader for Click to Science, and she's going to share a little bit more about the tools that we've got. Go, Ann.
All right. Hello. Welcome. And I'm the project manager for Click to Science. And previously, I was a science and a history teacher. And I've been with Nebraska 4-H for about 10 years now, managing STEM grants that are focused on professional development, curriculum development, and then programming within out-of-school time spaces. And so today we're focusing on the Click to Science model of professional learning and how you can use it. And so we will explore this model with you and the Click to Science PD website, which is where the resources are located. We want to support you in providing the best quality professional development for your staff that leads to the continuous improvement of skills and program quality. And so before we get started, we would like to ask you, what are your highest needs for professional development? And if you would put those in chat, it just helps us get a feel for where you're wanting support and help so that we can better address those. And so I'll just give you about 30 seconds to think about this a little bit and put your answers in chat, and then we'll explain a little more about our resources.
So as you're typing in the chat, go ahead and do that. And we will be sending out the links and these slides so Contral can share them with the group later. Thanks. So we're starting to see some pieces come in, access and availability. Got some thumbs up on that one. Supplies and materials. Oh, right. I need my staff to learn. It's okay if I know, but how can I get my frontline staff to be more comfortable teaching these concepts? You can keep typing those in, but those are all the kinds of things that we were hearing as we developed the Click to Science resources. So you'll be seeing more about that. Yeah, connections with experts in industries, right? And that's where your ecosystem comes in too.
All right, so please feel free to continue typing, but I'll go ahead and move on and get started with the rest of the presentation. And so this is the Click to Science professional development framework. And the QR code on the right is, if you happen to have a phone handy and you want to scan that, that goes directly to this page. And this is an interactive graphic. So unfortunately, you can't see all the words in here, but if you hover over those on the website, it will give you the full title. But just to explain a little bit about this framework, we have 3 strategies around the outside edge of the circle. And the first one is preparing for success in STEM. The second one is supporting youth development through STEM. And the third one is the orange section, which is developing STEM practices and a STEM mindset. And these 3 strategies then have skills that are underneath them, and that's the inner part of the circle. So everything in red, which there are 2 little pie-shaped sections would be the skills that we believe that you need to have in STEM to be able to prepare for success in STEM. So the outside edges are the strategies, and then the inside of the circle are the skills that we want you to train so that we believe that you can produce high quality programming and help your staff to have more confidence. Because one of the things that we were hearing a lot is staff lacked confidence in STEM education. And so one of the purposes is to try and help them be more confident in being able to teach STEM without having to be an expert in it. And so that kind of gives you the framework for what we are going to be teaching. And then the next part of it is then where do you go to start figuring out what you want to teach? And the Click to Science website is designed to be able to provide you resources so that you can train your staff. But we do also come and do in-person workshops and help with that. We also can help with you developing a plan using Click resources. And so there's quite a few different ways that you can utilize both the website and us as well. And so on this next slide, this is called creating STEM learning environments, which is one of the skills. So if you look at the graphic in the upper left, it shows the red, which means that we are under the strategy of preparing to lead STEM. And then we are within the skill creating STEM learning environments so that you can easily see where you're at in the graphic from the previous page. And so if I want to think about how do I want to create a STEM learning environment, this is where I would go on the webpage, and I just clicked on that graphic to get here. And then you can look at the two skills, and this is the one that I want to focus on. So then what do I want to do with this skill? So what you can do with science, with Click to Science, is several different kinds of professional development experiences, because we know everybody's at different points. Some people have maybe never done STEM programming. Some may have done a lot of it. And so we have 3 different kinds of what we call staff development guides. So we have meeting guides that you can use that incorporate about 15 to 30 minutes of professional development that you might use in a regular monthly staff meeting that you already have. Then we also have training guides that are 60 to 120 minutes of training, and those always have an activity with them, so they're hands-on. And then we also have coaching guides that are designed for working with one-on-one or with a small group of staff to develop a particular skill. And then finally, we also have online self-directed lessons for staff that can be done when it fits their schedules. Some of those are the Better Kid Care modules that Kathleen mentioned, and those can be done when your staff has time. So maybe ratios start to drop at the end of the day, and they can afford half an hour to go spend some time doing that. And so we have been told that that was also a need, because some sites, particularly rural, don't have the capacity to be able to pull all their staff in and do a staff development. And so this was a way to help them to still be able to get professional development. And then we also have videos, discussions, handouts, and activities that are integrated into all these PD situations. And there are STEM activities that staff can use to practice their skills when working with youth as well. And this model is intentionally designed to develop the skills and competencies for staff and volunteers. And the model represents an ongoing cycle that blends a variety of learning experiences within a cycle of training experiences. So anyone who has tried to lose weight or quit smoking knows that change takes time, and it doesn't just happen after one training. So we encourage you to think of the professional development of your staff as a sequence of connected learning experiences that build on one another. And this approach is based on best practices and research from the field. And you can see some of the research that has informed this model on our website in the research and evaluation section, which you can find under the About tab at the top of the homepage in the navigation. And this recommended model provides the structure for using the Click to Science staff development guides. And notice that the cycle includes time to practice and reflect on using skills as staff are working with youth. And as a site or program director, you could plan out a whole sequence of experiences. You could focus on one skill at a time and adapt your plan as staff and volunteers develop their skills. Because if you looked at the framework that I showed you a little bit ago, there's 16 skills under those 3 strategies. And so I thought maybe it would be helpful to give you an example of a plan. This is a plan that we developed for a larger district in Nebraska. And this is for the 2025-2026 school year. And so the circle inside is what I just showed you on the previous model. So that's kind of the underlying framework for how we develop this. And then the outer circles that are a little bit bigger are their specific training plan that we develop for them. And we actually go and do all the in-person workshops for this as well. So the orange squares show in-person workshops. We have one in September, one in January, and one in May. And we offer them 3 times so that their staff can hopefully get to one of them and accommodate their schedules. And then you can see on the outside edges, it says the focus skills. So for the September training, we were focusing on the skill preparing for STEM and specifically managing and selecting activities, because this site gets to select their own activities at each site. And the second skill was keeping everyone engaged. And then in January, we'll focus on the skills of sparking interest in STEM and developing STEM identities. And then for May, we'll talk about building strong relationships, and learning can be messy. So that's for their summer programming staff. And then in between that, so that it is continuous professional development, the lighter blue circles show you the self-directed lessons. And we always recommend 2 Better Kid Care modules, one that reinforces what they learned in the workshop that we just did, and one that kind of previews what's coming up in the next workshop so that it is all connected. And then they practice those skills, and we come back together in January and we work on the next ones. And then the darker blue circles are videos that we have for staff development meeting, for staff trainings. And those are 10 to 15 minute videos that allow them to work in their monthly staff meetings. There's 6 videos, so they do about 2 in between each meeting, just to reinforce concepts, to introduce new application of examples. And then another thing that we had heard is that a lot of people struggle to find time to prep for STEM activities. And so we give them some time to think about an activity that they're going to do that next week in most of those videos. And so this is just an example of a continuous development, professional development plan that you could use with your staff if this is where you're at. And with this group, they were just starting STEM programming. So they wanted to get this in because they believed they needed a higher value for parents, because they are a program that pays, and they wanted to raise their rates. They needed to. And so they wanted to value add to that before they did that, to help to get buy-in from parents. And so as you're thinking about, okay, what do I want to do for my staff? So this is where you can go to search. This is under the Resource Center, which is in the top navigation of the website. It's on every page. You can get there from the homepage. And so let's say that I decided that I wanted to teach the skill giving youth control, which is under the strategy supporting youth development through STEM. And I decide that I want something that takes about 30 minutes to do in a monthly staff meeting. So if I go to that resource center, this is the page that I would find. And I have searched by the supporting youth development, giving youth control, and then I decided to filter by development guide as a type. And then along the bottom are the 3 things that came up. So I decide that I will look at tinkering, and I click on that one, and it takes me to this page, which shows me again with the graphic at the upper left where I'm at in the PD framework. And it shows me I'm under the strategy in yellow, which is supporting youth development through STEM. And then I'm working on the skill giving youth control. And I can see this one is about 35 minutes. So if I want to keep it at 30 minutes, I'll make a type of adjustment. And then it tells me this is a meeting guide type, which is that 15 to 30 minutes or so. And then below that, it would have the learning objective for that. And then it has the guide, and you could print out. Everything is in a guide. So this is an example of the Giving Youth Control meeting guide for tinkering. And so it always has an agenda of the PD experience, so you can manage your time and see if you need to make any adjustments. It also has links to all the handouts and the other resources you will need to lead that training. And then there's a link to a video-based learning module that features real staff in out-of-school time programs facilitating STEM learning. These videos were created to feature a specific skill or strategy and include prompts so you can facilitate a discussion with staff. They were not selected to showcase best practices, but rather to help you have constructive conversations with staff about what works and what doesn't work. And most of the videos feature a specific STEM activity that staff can use to practice a skill as they are working with you. So there is a link to download that activity as well. And then the guide will take you through the training step by step. It includes all the supplies and preparation you'll need in advance. So we tried to make this as easy as possible for you because we know you are all really busy with a lot of other things already. And then another type of resource, I brought this drop-down menu with the filter by type that was on a couple slides previous. These are all the different types of resources we have. So there's articles. The development guides are what we've been talking about. We also had a lot of requests to put learning activities on the website, which we feel like there's some websites out there that are excellent that have learning activities. Alexandra may have a lot of great resources within the ecosystems, but we do put the learning activities that are affiliated with all of the training guides. We try and have all of those on the website so that if you do marble roller coasters and you think that's a great activity, that's on the website so that you can just pull that off and go do that with kids. And so the learning activity is for the youth. And then we also have the video learning guides, and we also have webinars. And we have several webinars that you can go look at, cover a variety of topics today. And I won't get into those because we don't have time today, but you can search those and find topics that interest you. We do have outdoor learning, we have early childhood, we have all kinds of different things on those. And then there are also some asynchronous options, which are under the web lesson. Better Kick Air is one that we've mentioned. We'll discuss a few others about that later. And then the next thing that I wanted to just share with you is we had done the Click to Science website. We started that about 12 years ago, and came to our attention that people would really like specific resources on computer science. And so we, in 2021, launched the clicktoComputerScience.org website. And it is structured a little differently than the Click to Science website. It actually has resources for computer science professionals or college students majoring in computer science who maybe haven't worked with youth before. So if you're thinking about inviting a computer scientist or computer professor to come and visit with kids, but they said they're not comfortable because they maybe haven't ever worked with kids before, we have some resources to just help them to know what it is to work with youth and positive youth development. And then we also have resources for the out of school time professionals who already know about how to take care of kids, but maybe don't know about computer science. And so those resources help teach computer science. And there are resources on this site that don't require any technology because I know cost is an issue, supplies are an issue, storage of them is an issue. There are activities about computational thinking, which is a STEM practice that do not require any kind of technology. They just require paper, pencils, markers, things like that that you might already have on hand. And then after we got done developing that website, we also got a request to think about having a separate website for Click to Engineering. And so this website is the most recent one that we've done. And this is the final site we have. And engineering is taught a little differently than science. And so we thought it would be helpful to have a website just focused on engineering. And sometimes engineering is the STEM area that people feel a little more comfortable starting with because it's building and they already maybe have Legos in their after school programs and some other things that kids build with. And so this is just being more intentional about how they're doing that so that it is an actual engineering activity. And one of the requests again was to have the learning activities. So engineering has the most learning activities of the three sites. And so there are curriculums on here that are free. There are also individual activities that you can look at. And you'll find engineering activities that support specific practices that help youth to think about engineering and to develop an engineering mindset. And you can download PDFs of specific activities or find links to freely available engineering curriculum for out of school time programs on this site. And the next section is the practices for an engineering mindset. And these are practices that engineers utilize in their work and that researchers in engineering education identify as key to helping youth learn engineering. And Clicked Engineering has videos, training resources, and engineering activities that support each of the practices and bringing them together into learning experiences. On the site, this graphic is interactive, so you can just click on one of the practices and see the resources we have for that practice. And on the left side is one of our learning blasts. These are short, focused resources that you can use for your own learning, or you can train your team about each of the practices that support an engineering mindset. They're designed to be about 10 to 15 minutes long, and they use research, reflection, a video that shows the practice in action, and expertise from the field to understand a practice and how it can be used in out-of-school time programming. They're quite flexible and designed to be bite-sized, so they are just providing you an overview of that skill. They're not a deep dive into that skill. And then just to finish up, we have a couple of other asynchronous courses that you can just take whenever you want to. AI is something that we have had requests to do some development with. So we have 3 courses that they're in a series on AI. So if you currently don't use AI or you aren't sure you want to use AI with youth, this might be a really good course for you to take because it is designed to help you learn about AI and to talk about the biases of it. And it is probably not going to be as helpful if you already love AI and you're using it. This isn't a course that is as helpful for you. And these courses are all for adults, not for kids. So I just wanted to make that clear. And then we also have a course which is a change impact course. So this is from the Change Up Learning platform, if any of you use that. And this one is called Lead Hands-on STEM with Confidence with using Click to Science. And this one is designed to talk about experiential learning, which is a type of learning that we use in 4-H all the time, which is about hands-on and connecting what they're learning to real-world experiences as much as possible. And so that just gives you a really quick overview of some of the resources on the website and how you might be able to use them. So we wanted to leave a little bit of time if you have any questions for us about the website or just about professional development in general. We love professional development, and so that this is something that's our passion. And it's always exciting to see staff get excited and confident in being able to teach STEM because then they get the kids engaged and you just see a waterfall effect where they all end up getting excited about STEM. And so that's one of the things I really enjoy about this work.
So we know we went through this really quickly. There are a plethora of resources on the sites. Both Anne and my email, I just put in the chat box. So if you have more information or ideas, we'd be happy to engage with you in those and actually have a conversation with your local site if that seems to make sense.
All right, excellent. And great information, and Kathleen as well. If I could ask the audience here to show some appreciation by using your reaction button for that great information. Things don't get as simple as we're trying to present them today to go on the website, click the link, find out what might work best for you or your students, but also keep it in mind that you making a decision to what and put in front of your students has an impact. In other words, when we go to those learning activities or whatnot, and you see something, I don't think that doesn't mean that the students that you're serving don't. So I would encourage us here, everyone on this call, to make sure that we're giving those choices, those options, all of the resources that be presented to you, putting it in front of our young people so they can make the choice on whether or not they want to take a deeper dive into that particular area, study, work sector, whatever that may be. Same with the ecosystem. So the presentation right before this, we can drill it down to the region and the county that you're actually in. So I hope that today's information was very clear, as Ralph already co-signed and said, right to the point, and make sure that you reach out to the statewide after-school network with any questions, support, or the resources you may need to carry on some of the activities that you select. We'll do our best to work with you. We're not a bank, right? But we'll do our best to find those resources to help support what you want to bring and put in front of your young people. We are right on time to close out. As always in these sessions, I like to end with a proverb, African proverb. For this session, I'd like us to lead with that tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare today. So when we think about STEM education for our young people, putting these opportunities or resources in front of them, it aligns with our future focused education initiatives and the innovation and also the technological relevances that are in their world. So we look forward to hearing back from you on how well this session went, both by email or the evaluation that has been dropped in the link. I'll go ahead and drop that again. It is important as you take a couple minutes to fill that out to let us know if we're meeting your needs in describing what we're going to put in front of you, if we're missing the mark, so we can go back and get that and bring it back in front of you. Take a couple minutes and let us know so we can make sure we're providing the best experience for everyone on the call. If I missed anything in the chat, now's your time to unmute the mic. Again, we want to thank all of our presenters today, Alexandra from the Pennsylvania Statewide STEM Ecosystem, both Kathleen and Ann from the Nebraska 4-H Connection. Wishing you all happy holiday, safe, wonderful and prosperous 2026 that's upon us. 2026, I keep saying it twice just to make sure I'm not misspeaking, but thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next session in January. Have a great rest of your day.